Hi there and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire and I'm a guest today at Simon Says Stamp. I'm here to show you a fun technique that you can do using your stamps and coordinating dies. However, today instead of just die cutting stamped images, we're going to do some fun masking. I'm using the Hero Arts Pine Branches stamp set and coordinating dies. What I really like about this is that you can use them for holidays or non-holiday cards. I'm going to do one of each today. I also have some cardstocks cut here to about 4 by 5 1/4 so that it'll fit on a note card nicely. And I have a piece of Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper here cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's slightly bigger than our cardstock. That will help us with this technique that we're doing today. I'll show you that in a moment. One of the things I really like about Hero Arts dies is look at the cutting edges right on the inside of the die. So when you line it up with your stamps, you know exactly where it's going to cut. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our pieces ready. I'm taking that masking paper, the Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper, and I'm going to die cut it. I decided I wanted to use that bottom right stamp, so I'm going to use that coordinating die to die cut repeatedly from the masking paper. If you don't have masking paper, you could instead die cut from some thin typing paper and use that instead, but masking paper sure is handy for this technique. I'm just going to keep die cutting the masking paper and moving my die every time I die cut so that I can kind of fill up this whole piece. I am also keeping the positive pieces that I cut in a little bowl so I can use those for a second card. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this to one of my cardstock pieces. So you can see I've completely covered this masking paper with die cuts. And now I'm just going to carefully remove the release paper. You got to be careful so you don't rip your masking paper. And I'm going to lay my cardstock onto the sticky side of it. So I have my mask upside down. I'm going to lay my cardstock down. And here you can see why I made the mask a little bit bigger than the cardstock. It makes it really easy to line it up and make sure that I've masked the entire front of my cardstock piece here. Now with the other masks, the little positive parts, I'm going to arrange them onto another piece of cardstock. So I'm actually making 2 cards at once with that one die cut mask background. I'm going to arrange these. There's a little bit of space in between each of the leaves. You could mix a bunch of different die cuts together. You can do anything you want with this technique. This technique works with pretty much any stamp and coordinating die set. So now I'm going to ink over our masked area. I'm using this new Shimmer White Delicata ink, but you could use any ink you want for this. I also have a jumbo dauber, but you could, again, use any ink blending tool that you want. I recommend dabbing it on to your paper instead of moving it around over the paper because you might mess up the edge of your mask. Now, I think this technique would be great with maybe just a regular white pigment ink or a shadow ink so that the masked areas end up a little bit darker than the others. Any ink would look cool over this mask. This is a new shimmer pigment ink, so when you see this, it looks like a white shimmer. If you do not have this pigment ink, you could instead use like Versamark ink and then put Perfect Pearl powders over it for a very similar look. This is a gorgeous ink. There's some other metallic new colors from this line of inks. I just used the shimmer white here because honestly, I couldn't find my Perfect Pearls. So that's why I decided to go with this option. But again, you could ink over your mask with any inks you want. You could even just use Versamark for a tone-on-tone look, whatever you want. This is a great way to get more out of your stamps and coordinating dies. Now, I made sure to heat set that very, very well. I want to make sure that that wet pigment ink dries as much as possible so that it doesn't rub off. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stamp over it with the matching stamp. I'm using a little bit of a darker ink. This is Simon Says Stamp Green Leaf ink. And when I stamp over that pigment ink, you'll see it lightens it because we're stamping on top of that white masked area that we inked. So you can see that it doesn't end up as dark as it would if I stamped it directly onto the cardstock. But you get this great kind of shadow look where you have your stamped image with like this glow of white shimmer around it. It's a really fun thing to do with your stamps and coordinating dies. I'm going to go ahead and heat set this again because we're stamping with a dye ink over a pigment ink. It may not want to dry on its own. The more you heat set it, the better. Now with this one, I'm stamping with Simon Says Stamp Audrey Blue into the open masked areas. So you can see that this blue ink is going to be darker on that cardstock because we're not stamping on top of that white ink. Sorry my head got in the way there, but the best way to line up your stamping is to put your head directly over the stamp surface. So now I need to finish up my card. I have my backgrounds done. I heat set them well. I want to do some die cut sentiments to put on the card, but I didn't have perfectly matching cardstock. So I rubbed my inks onto the cardstock to color it to match perfectly to our stamping. I'm going to die cut the blue with the Hero Arts Merry Christmas sentiment. And then for non-holiday card, I'm doing a hello from the green. So now I have die cuts that perfectly match the stamping that we have on our card. Now this was kind of blending into the background, so I wanted to kind of have something for these to set on. So I'm using the new Hero Arts Infinity dies. These are nesting dies that have a ton of dies in it. It's a great bargain if you're looking for some basic shapes in many sizes. I haven't found any die sets that really are offer as much bang for the buck as these Hero Arts Infinity die sets. So far they come in circles, rectangles, and tag shapes. For the Christmas card, I'm going to use 3 rectangles that are each just a little bit bigger than the next, and then 3 circle dies for the hello card. I'm going to use these to kind of create a frame for a focal point for our die cut sentiments. I'm using a little piece of washi tape to tape together my dies so that they fit into each other nicely. I'm taping on the back of the dies, so now they're all connected and I can run them through the die cut machine together. I ran them through the die cut machine with some white cardstock, and now I have 2 rectangle frames and then the white piece for the middle. That middle frame, I'm not going to use it for the card. I'm just going to use this white center and then the frame that's a little bit bigger. I'm putting some double-sided tape on the white center, and I'm going to glue that towards the top of our card. And then I'm going to put regular adhesive on the outside frame, and I'm going to glue that around the main center. This just gives a nice focal point to the center. You could just do the rectangle by itself, the solid piece in the middle, but putting this frame around it really gives it a nice finishing touch. Now I'm using my Ranger Multi-Medium to add tiny little dots of adhesive to the back of my sentiment. You could have used Stick-It product on the back of this before you ran it through the die cut machine so that the adhesive would be on it. But if you don't have Stick-It, you can always use any liquid adhesive to add your little die cuts to your projects. Now after finishing this, I felt like it needed a little something extra. So I'm using my stylus, which just has a rounded end, to press into my Audrey Blue ink pad and put little tiny dots in the background. This is such a fast way to add details to a project. I then decided to add pearls to the background. It kind of went with that pearly ink that we used. I decided to use liquid pearls in the white color just to add little drops to my card. You could use gemstones, you could use any of the products that are out there, enamel dots or whatever. This is a really cost-effective way to add embellishments. Now, if you squeeze out your liquid pearls and it kind of looks like a teardrop instead of a ball, just hold the card and flick it from behind, and that helps to make the liquid pearls settle so you have a nice rounded look to your pearls. It really makes a big difference. Then all you need to do is set that aside to dry and you have beautiful shine. Now for the green card, I added the Hello die cut with the circle frames that I created, and I also created little dots with the green ink. So there you can see the beautiful shine that you get with that shimmer ink, but remember you could use any ink for this technique. I also added some shimmer with my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen to the word die cuts. So there you have a way that you can use your stamps with your coordinating dies to create a masked background. Thank you for visiting. If you have questions, visit the Simon Says Stamp blog, and we'll see you next time.